welcome to episode 92 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I'm Ray Carcillo in miserable Los Angeles, California, joined by my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing today?
Ray, it's not quite miserable here. It's in the mid to low 30s today with flurries expected, which as a hockey fan makes me happy. Actually, you know what, Ray, I'm lying. I don't usually lie. People know me, know I don't lie. I shouldn't say I lied. I made a miscalculation there. I'm not really enjoying this winter. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. Usually when there's a winter, I love it because I can go out, I can go to markets, go to Starbucks, go skate outside, go have fun. But this winter, it's been like, stay in your home because there's a pandemic going on around the world. So now it's just kind of cold outside, and I don't get to do all the things that I love to do. So for the first time in my life, Ray, first time ever, I'm not kidding when I say that, I'm kind of looking forward to spring. And when the temperature goes up into the 60s and I can go outside and work on my back porch, you know, and then I'm deferring this winter to next winter. That's how it is here. How are you? We're fine here. How are you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's how a lot of us felt with the spring, the summer, the fall. We're all just kind of kicking the can.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me
spring.
that everyone's going through this?
Yes. And it's much, much worse here in Los Angeles.
It is. I can't wait for you to tell the people about this. Everybody listen. That was a weird intro, but listen to this. Yeah, this is borderline on the unbelievable, but it's true.
Yeah, so we don't typically talk about just regular news here, obviously, but this was such an unbelievable story that broke last night.
We'll make it deep news. Don't worry. We'll find a way. We'll find a way.
Yes, we'll find a way. This is the way, but it broke last night that for the first time in many years, for those of you who don't know, actually, obviously LA has the stereotype of smog, but actually it's had some of the best air pollution laws in the country over the past 30 years. They really did crack down on that. Well, they're loosening those laws right now because, unfortunately, due to COVID, the crematoriums are working overtime, and so they're lightening the air pollution laws so that the crematoriums can continue to burn the bodies as much as possible. This is a fact. This is a news story. This is news that broke last night here in LA, and actually around the world has been reported. Because at this point, we are at the point now here in LA that for everyone who dies of other causes, there's someone dying of COVID. It's literally a 1-to-1 ratio at this point here in Los Angeles. 1 in 3 people here in LA have COVID. The Dodgers Stadium has been turned into a super testing site and a super vaccine site, and there seems to be no end in sight here in LA. It is officially the apocalypse. I hope all is well with you.
Just collecting my thoughts here because some of this is hilarious and some of it is not.
Yeah, it's both funny and very serious. Yes.
If only we had outlets that would be reporting this instead of other erroneous news. Okay, let's just go to this air pollution thing. LA known for having horrendous air quality, even with all of the regulations, still having horrendous air quality.
That is
true.
Yes.
This is the thing that freaks me out about this. Yes, right? Fire tornadoes. That's a 2020 thing and soon to be 2021. This is the thing that freaks me out, Ray. It's like, okay, well, you're lowering the standards so you can use more crematoriums. And, people must really think, well, they filter that out. I mean, it's not like the dead bodies are going in the sky or anything like that. Well, then what is going in the sky? Just the exhaust? And I'm like, this is like a Soylent Green territory type deal. Yes. That there's something going up into the atmosphere Ray, you need to leave LA and move someplace. I don't care if you go to Idaho. Just go someplace else. You can go to Montana, South Dakota. Nobody ever talks about South Dakota. We talk about North Dakota. Nobody talks about South Dakota. It's a real place. Or another forgotten state, West Virginia. It exists. All right? It's a real place. All right?
Yeah.
This fire tornadoes, crematorium exhaust, 1 in 3 coronavirus.
Yeah.
Get out of there. I'll be right back. I'm coming. For those of you listening, just stay on the air. Yeah, just stay on the air. Thank you, Mrs. Doubtfire. There's gonna be blank air here for 2 weeks, but I'll be right back. Don't.
Yeah. So yeah. As Lee shuffles his way slowly off screen.
No, man, crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a crazy story.
That is legit Soylent Green type stuff. If you don't know what Soylent Green is, look it up.
Yeah, terrible
it's
movie.
People.
I was gonna say it's a terrible movie. It's an infamously bad movie, but that one twist at the end made it a cult classic.
Right. It's basically Planet of the Apes without apes.
Yeah, because
You maniacs!
Charlton Heston stars in it. Yeah, and it's basically a movie that's just built on a twist.
Well, and it's a great twist, though. It's a great
twist. A terrific twist. It's an amazing
If you liked
twist.
Snowpiercer, same twist.
Yeah, so there you go. So,
similar twist, I should say.
Similar twist. I think there was an episode of The Walking Dead where they had that kind of a twist where, like,
Yum.
Yeah, so anyway, Google it. Use
Los Angeles, California. World
LA.
Series champions and
City of Angels. Quite literally.
I don't want to. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. No, it had to be said. It's not a joke. We're not really saying it funny. It's kind of true. Yeah. Wow, we've come a long way since that movie. Anyway, this has been a very interesting start to this episode. I hope you're still with us. By the way, I wanted to say this. Ray didn't know I was going to say this. I wanted to say this. If you're loving our show, share it with a friend. And again, it's not so much that I'm just trying to promote it. So many people have told us how much they love this show. And as you can imagine, we're trying to grow the audience. So if you know someone that loves this stuff, share it. Don't hide it from them. Share it with them. Yes. Bring them into our groups. Bring them into our Facebook chats. We want to turn this into something really powerful here. And Ray and I, again, we're approaching 100 episodes. Ray, I think I'll be like Wanda and Vision. I think it works. It works. So I want it to work for everybody. We will be talking about WandaVision today. But we want it to work for everybody. So share it with a friend or tell someone you think that would be involved in our community. And again, not so much to just grow the channel, but we want to grow our community. Like we enjoy speaking with all of you, right? We want this to be as interactive as possible. So just tell a friend if you have a friend. If you don't have any friends, we're your friends. So tell us.
It is, exactly. Yeah, just feel free to talk. Feel free to join the group. And back now to your regularly scheduled geek who likes sports programming.
Do we need to do a 1K tone?
Boop. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, again, sorry for the I won't say a weird story, but it was such a prevalent story. It's such at the forefront of our minds, obviously.
Right. Stay safe, Ray.
Yes. So we're trying. But yeah, so
sorry. Real quick, sorry, I cut you off. The geek twist here is from Spaceballs. Is that we need to can air. So you can, what was the name of that company? Yeah. Like there's something in that where they had to can fresh air.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then of course, what's it? Mega Made. Suck.
It's Mega Made, sir. That joke's gone from appropriate to not appropriate in 2021 apparently, but it's still funny.
Yes. Yeah. Spaceballs is one of the greatest parodies of all time. I mean, anything Mel Brooks has
I was just going to say, anything he touched was amazing. If you haven't seen Blazing Saddles, Robin Hood Men in Tights, Spaceballs, or any of his films.
Yeah, Young Frankenstein, The Producers.
History of the World, Part 1, all of it.
The list goes on and on and on.
Right.
So, but yeah, that being said, we're going to mix things up this week. We've been doing a lot of geek stuff as kicking things off. We have a big show, like Lee mentioned. We got WandaVision. The first 2 episodes dropped. We got a lot to talk about with that. We have other Star Wars news, Marvel Universe news. We got some SnyderCut news. MortalKombat, Warner Brothers. And we're going to talk about a lot of video games. Some huge video game news. But we're going to say that towards the end of the show. We're going to kick things off with the 4 major sports, starting off with football.
The foosball.
Yes.
You've been playing the foosball at school? Ow!
Yes, of course, kicking off the 4 divisional games were this weekend. Lee went 3-1. I went 2-2. We'll kick things off with the Battle of the Old Men, which was the last game of the weekend. Drew Brees versus Tom Brady, and this is the one that Lee got right that I got wrong. Lee said Tampa Bay, I said New Orleans. The thing I did not expect was the turnovers. New Orleans won the turnover battle, +4 in the regular season. Tampa Bay forced 4 turnovers here against New Orleans, and so even more that Brady didn't have a great day. Brees had a terrible day, but Brady didn't have a great day. This was the Bucs defense stepping up, forcing 3 interceptions. Although I will say only 1 was probably really Brees' fault. The other 2 were his receivers. But either way, it's a bad stat line for what could possibly be the last game. What sounds like it's going to be the last game of the best quarterbacks of our era. Lee, what were your thoughts on Tampa Bay versus the Saints? Yeah,
look, a few thoughts. And my thoughts are just kind of reflective of my prediction. Is Drew Brees coming off some incredible injuries this year, to his credit.
Yeah, I still think his ribs are hurt, by the way.
I can tell you that they are having had rib injuries. They last a long time, Ray. Even after they've hurt, they just ache and ache and ache.
And the fact that Jameis Winston came in for the one deep ball on a trick play.
Right. Yeah. It's just, he's getting hit. And again, I think that, outside the performance, which is not something you want to talk about, we don't talk about this. It was gutsy for Brees to even be out there. Again, I can't say this enough. I've had rib injuries. They don't go away for a long time, and they're incredibly easy to reinvigorate. All right, to re-aggravate. Excuse me. So when I looked at that game, it was just Tom Brady's in top shape. His team is playing better. That's why I picked them. And I think I think my reflection of the game is it's that simple. You just had a team that was way in a more of a playoff level at this point, and you had
they
the
were
Saints
clicking
team,
at the right time.
Right, the Saints team is just not to that level yet. I also think the problem is that a lot of people are making predictions with Tom Brady because he's Tom Brady, and not Tom Brady the quarterback. The stigma of the Bucs are doing kind of good. It's a good team. Like that whole team is really good. They have a lot of big pieces. Honestly, like think about this. If I went back in time 3 years ago and I said Gronk, Brady, Antonio Brown are going to be on one team together.
Yeah.
Right?
You'd say that those are world beaters right there.
I mean, right, you would say that no matter what, right? And that I even talked about their defense, which is quite good, which is probably another reason why he went there.
Yes.
Right? Like I'm just
I mean, the Saints defense is top 5. The Bucs were number 8. It's not they were that far behind this year.
Right. So and that's what I'm trying to say though is that like that's a team that you would expect to win, and just all the indications were that they were going to win that game. Again, home field advantage is not a thing this year like it has been in the past. It's all that is comfort, and the Bucs have been on the road for a while, right? So it's like that's just how I looked at it. I do want to comment on this game that, as most of you have seen, just an incredibly touching moment after the game between Breeze and Brady. Brady throwing a touchdown pass to Breeze's son. There's something about seeing greatness and greatness respecting each other. I even said on my own personal page that you don't have to look far to see acts of kindness, acts of respect, acts of things, leadership, basically.
Right.
You don't have to look that far. If you just have to look. And I said, because no one's going to give it to you. You have to look. And luckily, the cameras were on. But Breeze clearly reflecting on his time there. Indications look like he is going to retire. Now, with that said, I'm not going to make any predictions on that. If in 3 months his ribs feel great and he feels great, he might absolutely come back.
Right.
All right. But I'm not Drew Brees, and I'm not feeling his body. He is older. Tom Brady is in better. This sounds weird, but he is in better physical shape than.
Well, I mean, Brady's had far less injuries than Brees has had over his career.
Less injuries. He's taller, and he also has revolutionized fitness at the age that he's at. He's made major changes in training science. So look, it wasn't the game I think we expected, but the result was kind of predictable in my opinion.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Again, I mean, the game came down to the fact. Look, the Saints' defense played spectacularly. They held Tom Brady in check as well. Tom did not have a great statistical game. And Tom made some really poor throws, some really bad decisions. But fortunately for him, instead of being interceptions, they were incompletions. The thing is that again, 4 turnovers led directly to 21 Tampa Bay points. It's very hard, even for a top 5 defense, to stop a team when the other team is starting on your own 20 or your own 25.
Right, and we don't talk about defenses enough. I mean, to be honest with you, and that's another thing is it's not just the quarterback, right? What people wanted in that game was Brady and Breeze from 10 years ago. And they got was Brady and Breeze today.
No, for sure. I mean, and credit where it is due. Tampa Bay was the better team. They will now head to Green Bay after what was probably the worst game of the weekend, and not surprisingly, we both knew this was going to happen. Green Bay blew out Los Angeles. The Rams' defense is very good. They were the number 1 defense in the league. They were banged up, however. Aaron Donald did not play every snap, and Aaron Rodgers is a man on a mission.
Right.
He too is older, but he's coming off a career year. He has weapons around him. He has arguably the best offensive line around him. He was making plays like younger younger Aaron Rodgers, where he deked out Leonard Floyd on one play and then trotted into the end zone.
That was a cool play.
It was a great play, and I think that's a team right now that's clicking on all cylinders, that's relatively healthy. Their defense isn't as good as some of the other teams in the NFL in the playoffs still, but they're not a pushover either. Of course, though, it also the miserable Rams offense, led by banged up Jared Goff. They didn't have their number 1 receiver. The fact that the Rams were even there is a minor miracle. This was a huge mismatch. These were 2 teams. The Rams, they took advantage of another team in Seattle that was also trending the wrong way. Green Bay is again another team that's clicking on all cylinders at the right time. The Rams were limping through the playoffs. no surprise here, we both picked Green Bay, and Green Bay blew them out.
Yeah, there's not much to report on this game. It would have been an underdog, Herculean effort for the Rams to come out and beat them, and it just didn't happen. Look, injuries play a huge role this time of the year. When you're dealing with an any given Sunday scenario, if you're missing your best players, it's hard to win. It's hard to win, especially if the other team has a favorable matchup, which Green Bay did. Easy win.
Yeah.
Takes nothing away from the Rams, who had a kind of interesting season, but the better team won. That's what you want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the Rams fought valiantly for the first 2.5 quarters, but then Rodgers just took over, and they just that offense was just too much.
Right.
And very smart schemes, and you also started to see the Rams get frustrated on the sidelines, and the weather. So speaking of snow flurries, it started to flurry there in Green Bay. You wonder if that started to affect a team that typically plays either in warmer weather or a dome. Now a dome, now SoFi Stadium, but yeah. So before we get to the AFC. It's the Battle of the Bays. It's Green Bay versus Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship game. It's the first game of the weekend this coming weekend, I should say. Who do you have going from the NFC to the Super Bowl?
So, as it typically is with championship games, very hard to predict, right? And you know me, I take a different approach. I don't just look at matchups. I look at the storylines. And the storyline for me is this. It is Aaron Rodgers being able to rip from Tom Brady look at me, I'm the captain now, basically. All right, and then Tom Brady going to Aaron Rodgers and being like, "Sit down, the adults are talking." Right. This is what I think is going to happen.
Tom Brady's only 5 years older than Rodgers. Rodgers
it's true.
A bit long in the tooth himself.
He's still Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Right. He's ageless.
Right.
This is a tough one, but this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Green Bay wins.
Yeah.
By one score, and the game will end with Tom Brady driving the Bucs down the field, coming just short of winning the game. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't want to give a score update, but if I had to, probably 21-17, something like that. I'm going to give Green Bay the edge only because, again, the home field advantage plays a role against the Bucs for everybody but Tom Brady and Gronk, which is kind of funny. Right, because Tom Brady and Gronk are going to obviously know how to play in cold weather.
They're used to playing in cold weather,
but I don't know how that defense is going to hold up to that, right?
Yeah.
So I think Green Bay is slightly a better team, and I think that will show. Now, with that said, if you always hear these predictions, if anybody has a bad day, if there's a huge injury, which is what we're going to talk about with Baltimore, anything can happen, right? But if everybody's at full force, I'm going to say Green Bay just edges out the Bucs, but I'll be happy if either of those two teams win. All right, not everybody's going to say that.
No, that's true. That's true.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing, and I admit, I honestly don't care who wins. I'm going to be rooting for the AFC, the Super Bowl. I already know it because it'll be a better story. But I think that, I think Green Bay. I think Green Bay is just the better overall team.
Right.
I think that especially right now, again, if Brady comes out and has the day that he against Green Bay that he had against the Saints, there's no way Tampa Bay wins. Tom Brady has to be near perfect, I think, to beat that off, because if it turns into a shootout, then they have a chance. But if it's Aaron Rodgers doing what Aaron Rodgers has been doing all year, and Tom Brady doing what he's been doing all year, then chances are, I think Green Bay wins by probably a touchdown.
We don't say this too often, but this is a game where Brady is going to have to play better than usual to win.
Yeah.
And that says something right there. His better than usual is still pretty damn good. So we'll see. Look, it's going to be a great game. I can say this. Both those teams won it. It's there's great storylines on both sides. I'm just expecting a great football game. But we're doing predictions. I'm going to pick it. I'm going to say Green Bay by one score in a very close game.
Yeah, I'll say Green Bay by 10.
Sure.
So again, pretty close. I think, and it'd be one of those things where it's late score, nail in the coffin kind of thing.
Yeah. Look, I think Brady will have the ball with 2 minutes left, and we'll see what happens. That's what I think is going to happen. It's going
to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting.
Right.
Moving over now to the AFC to see
AFC, the American Football Conference.
Yes, who will take on the NFC's champion.
The National.
First off, we will start with Baltimore and Buffalo. Lee and I both chose Baltimore.
Right.
And this was a really close game. This was, again, I said this I originally, at the beginning of the playoffs, picked Buffalo to go to the AFC Championship game, but I changed it because Buffalo looked terrible against the Colts. Baltimore looked great against Tennessee.
Right.
So then I was like, Baltimore's clicking right now. Buffalo's not. Script got flipped. This can happen in the playoffs, of course, at any time. But this was a close game. There was a lot of wind in Buffalo. Each team missed 2 field goals.
Right.
It was super tight. Buffalo took the opening kickoff. They marched down the field. They made it 10-3. Baltimore looked like they were ready to answer, and basically the turning point in the game and where even the game ended, Baltimore had a 3rd and goal, and Lamar Jackson throws a pick 6, tied for the longest pick 6 in NFL history in the playoffs, 101 yards. Made it 17-3, and then in the next possession, Jackson gets hurt. He gets concussed, which we'll also talk about in the next game as well. Jackson gets concussed, and that was basically all she wrote, 17-3. Buffalo wrote its defense. This was a game that you thought the offenses might do more. The scrambling quarterbacks, Allen versus Jackson, action Jackson. Everybody's going to be running the ball. Nobody ran the ball. Nobody could pass the ball because of the wind. A lot of overthrows by each quarterback. And the defenses stood up, and in this case, Baltimore's defense showed its age a little bit, and Buffalo's looked sharp and made the one play that you need sometimes in a playoff game to seal the deal.
Right, and I'll say this too, and we always talk about these X factors as Ray, as you said, there was multiple ones. We couldn't predict Lamar Jackson getting hurt, and I'm not defending that we got it wrong, but like this is the great thing about football. Like you said, the wind was such an option. I don't think you and I thought about, rushing for these teams and the defense in that scenario.
Yeah.
But okay, look, here's the deal. First off, we hope Lamar Jackson is okay.
Yes.
It seemed like a pretty big hit. I thought that I want to put a lot of focus on Buffalo for 2 things. One is congratulations to Buffalo on making it to the AFC Championship. It's a very, very, very proud fan base.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for that fan base because Buffalo suffers a lot in sports, to be fair.
Yes.
Now, the other thing I want to say is the Buffalo fans are amazing to me. So they raised quite a bit of money for Lamar Jackson's charity fund after he was concussed, and not in a sarcastic way. I'm getting it like they're just good people, and they they wanted to show that. So if you grow up in the Northeast like Ray and I do, you just tend to hate the teams around you. It turns into this kind of who's got a bigger nose type thing. It's always me, by the way. But the thing is that when you look at fan bases around the country, not every fan base is as aggressive as they are in the Northeast. Like I always give this example, like Dallas Cowboys fans in Dallas are extremely nice people. Dallas Cowboys fans in Philadelphia are the worst people, and New York. But Buffalo is a great group of people.
And everybody rates Santiago.
No, he understands. He would agree with this. I don't think he would disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
He's just naturally a good person.
Yes.
Right, and we'll make sure that we send this clip to him. Yeah, like he's also a football guy and knows the games, played the games, works in sports. Yeah, he does get a free pass. I'm not just saying that because he introduced me to my wife. All right, it's just like Dallas fans are outside of Dallas. Let me rephrase it. Dallas fans in Dallas are very, very nice people. That's all I'm trying to say. Buffalo fans are really good people. You don't ever hear Buffalo fans talking too much smack, right? So I'm happy
unless it's a cardboard table.
Well, we're going to talk about that in the future. No, but the thing is, I'm gonna tell the Bills fans, I'm happy for you. It's tough not to root for the Bills right now. And congratulations on winning that game. You deserved it.
Yeah, no, they did. They played the better game. They played the best. That's it. The better team. The better team
won.
Showed up. They won, and that was a case where there was a home field advantage because playing outdoors in the winter can sometimes mess with things.
Again, Ray, we've talked about this before. In the playoffs, the NFL playoffs, you can sneak a win or two, but you earn your way into the championship games. You earn your way into the Super Bowl. There's no mistakes in getting to the championship games in the Super Bowl. If you're there, you deserve to be there. It's that simple. Again, you can trip yourself into the second round. Mm-hmm. All right, or even you can do that. But you can't trip into those 2 games. You're on if you're doing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And of course, the Buffalo Bills. Again, this was my prediction at the beginning of the playoffs. Was Chiefs versus Bills. The Chiefs win in Arrowhead. No surprise. Cleveland. But I will say this: it's how they won, which was a surprise. No surprise that they won, but how they won. As Cleveland, after knocking off Pittsburgh, and Cleveland got off to a slow start, very slow start. A lot of controversy towards the end of the first half. There was a helmet-to-helmet hit with the Browns receiver. I believe it was Higgins. Diving for the pylon. The line judge missed it because he didn't have the angle. And also, if you're the line judge, you're looking at the ball at that point when they're reaching for the pylon. You're not looking for the helmet-to-helmet hit. The back judge just saw that, did not through the flag. I think like a lot of folks, though, A lot of people are questioning, well, why can't you challenge a penalty and all this other stuff? It's like, well, they tried that with pass interference a couple years ago and it didn't work. And we always look in at that one example, that one glaring of example where the refs miss it. And I think the bigger question is the rule of if you fumble through the back of the end zone, it's a touchback that goes to the other team, where if you do that anywhere else on the field, you just keep the ball where the ball went out of bounds. Curious to see if they're going to change that rule, because that basically changed the game. If the Browns get the touchdown there, because basically the ball gets punched out the half-yard line, bounces through the end zone and out of bounds, giving the Chiefs the ball and really holding Cleveland there. And really, I'll say this, Cleveland came back with a little bit of help from some injuries, but that was a huge turning point there in the first half that was kind of deflated the air out of the Cleveland balloon, because that would have made it a one-score game at that point. Lee, what are before we go to the second half of that game, what were your thoughts on that play at the end of the first half?
The NFL's got too many rules. And the thing is this, is that when I look at plays like that, Ray, I want your thoughts on this too. Like, when I think about creating rules, all right, there's two types of kind of rule creation. One is player safety. Right? Like, that's why they get rid of the horse collar. It makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah. Helmet to helmet. That's a player safety. And the other one is just rules, right? Just rules of sport, right? All right. And you can't have enough player safety rules. And you can't have too many rules of sport. Okay. Yeah. Now, the way I look at this is this, and this is the thing that this is always talked about. I actually get exhausted with this when it comes to referees. When you watch anything in super slow motion, it's very, very easy to make a call.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And things can look very different in super slow motion, by the way. All right. But when these guys are going full speed, like you said it, like, he's looking at the pylon, he's looking at the ball, and it's going really fast. He's not looking at that play. Why did he see that? Well, we did the replay. And it's like, how much more do we want to slow this game down? Ray, was it a good football play?
See, in my opinion, I do think it was a good, because they were both diving for the same spot. I really think that, like,
was there an intent to injure?
I do not think this was an intentional dirty hit. I do not think so at all.
Good. Going from that, so with acknowledging that, right? Maybe there was some contact here where player safety came into question. In my mind,
they definitely butted heads.
Right.
Sure.
So in my mind, this is a postseason, not the postseason like the playoffs, like after the season ends, review of is there something we can do to help player safety, right? From a football standpoint, and don't get me wrong, I take concussions and all that stuff very seriously, like I have to in my line of work. But from a football standpoint, it was a football play. It was a hard-nosed play.
Yeah, they're both diving for the
football.
corner of the end zone.
Yeah, I don't think you win and lose on one play. I think that the sport is tough. I think that Lombardi is rolling over in his grave with some of these things.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not trying to sound unfair. Like, whenever there's a non-call or a call on any situation, one team benefits and one team doesn't. You don't win the game on one play.
Yeah.
It was a football play.
Yeah.
And we're talking about an injury-based rule, not a stat-based rule.
Right.
So that's it's a play, and that was a good play, and I don't think there was any malicious intent.
Yeah.
I'm willing to live with it.
Yeah. No, me too. Me too.
Right.
Again, I mean, it is what it is. And also, a friend of mine said this, and I agree with him 100%. If you don't like the fumble out of bounds rule, know where you are on the field, and maybe
play better.
Like, especially with, I think there was a minute and a half left. You're at the 1.
Right.
Like, if you're not for sure going to break the pylon with that football, and we've seen that. The thing is, we've seen this dozens of times, but because it's Cleveland, which is such a long-suffering fan base as it is, I understand.
Right.
Like, it gets magnified a bit. But we've seen this happen dozens and dozens of times.
Yeah. It's the playoffs, too. Like, everything in the playoffs is in any sports postseason, when there's a bad call, it's the worst thing in the history of sports.
Yeah.
And it's like, these things happen all year.
Yeah.
Right? You want to win the game, win the game. I will say this, Ray. It is very, very, very rare, and I will give you an example to actually contradict this, that there's a play, missed call, that is so important that it literally lost the game for a team. The only time I've ever seen this is against the Saints.
Yeah.
All right? On that non-pass interference call.
Where they swallowed the whistles.
Right. Nobody understood that. And I still don't understand that. That's the only time in my life I've seen like, wow, that really dictated this game.
Yeah.
Because that was pass interference.
Yeah, that changed
Plain
the
and
game
simple.
right there. Yeah.
Right? And again, I could also say the Saints should have scored more. I mean,
Right.
like honestly, logistically, that's true. But like that was the referee decided the game.
It was such a bad blown call. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, did the referee decide this game?
I don't think so because again, we had the whole second half, right? There was a whole second half we played, and a lot happened in the second half.
Right.
By the way, yes, Cleveland didn't get the touchdown there, but Kansas City also missed their typically automatic kicker missed a field goal, a chip shot field goal, and an extra point. They left 4 points on the board.
Then we can't focus on that one play. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Especially when there's a second half left. Look, I'll give you a good example. A lot of fans make this mistake. You know, when we're talking about the Eagles and the Philly special, man, the Philly special. We didn't win the Super Bowl because of the Philly special. It was a great play. It's a great moment at the end of the first half. But we didn't win on that. We won because we stopped Tom Brady with 2 minutes left and we scored more points than he did.
Yeah.
Right? So it's never one play. The Saints example is an example of it being one play and it being very unfair. It's that simple. I think it was also against
the rules. They did it for a year.
Yeah.
They tried it. It didn't really do anything.
Right.
It just was such a glare. It's just that one glaring error, and it just
and that's you know. The last thought on this is that like you know it's like product. You know when you have a product and you're looking at a break rate. Right, like, and you know, people do this all the time. I'm a business owner. I can actually vent a tiny bit about this. This is a great metaphor here. Okay, I have a product that has less than I think it's less than 0.1% break rate. It's definitely below 1%. Okay, that's really really good. The average break rate in an industry is like 5%. Right, we're well below 1%. Right, but we'll still every once in a while, every 10,000 units we put out there, one will break because there's an air bubble, whatever. You know, and we would. By the way, we all replace it. But that one person on like, it broke the first time I used it and blah, blah, blah. And we'll get people looking at that review. And again, it's your right to look at those reviews. But what I look for is like, okay, how many of these things actually do break? Because if it's 1 in 10,000, that's good. When it comes to NFL calls, if there's one bad call, which we just established, the one bad call over a whole season, all the games, it's pretty good. Right? Yeah. Do you remember when we had replacement refs? Yeah. Or did people casually forget how horrible that was?
A lot of people forgot.
It was horrible. Horrible officiating. Yeah. These officials at the top levels do really good work. And we don't respect it enough. And yes, there's going to be bad calls. And yes, there's going to be the annual, Goodell paid him. All right, I hate all that. All right, be careful what you wish for. All right, we saw replacement refs, and it was devastating.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. It's certain things. It's not. Yeah, and it's like, and also we do also get it like on certain umps. Like obviously, like again, I believe Lee as well, firm believers in having the computerized strike zone in baseball.
Totally, but that's that's a totally different
Yes, that is a very different thing. So I mean, I just want to completely bring that,
remember, baseball is the only sport where literally every play. For lack of a better word, every play, some guy's interpretation of the rule affects the game. Yeah. Okay, and to be fair, most umpires are pretty good, but like, it's just like that's the only sport where something like that exists. I mean, the idea of that I don't even know if there's another example. I can't think of one.
No, yeah. So again, so just want to put that out there before we get the one naysayer ourselves.
Oh no, we want the naysayer. Bring it on. Argue with us.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Geekslikesports.com or the website.
second half of the Chiefs game, Mahomes gets hurt.
Right.
He gets concussed.
No, he's not concussed.
Oh, excuse me. That's right. He hasn't been officially concussed. He's not concussed.
He's not gonna be either.
Yeah, I know exactly. Chad Henne comes in, makes some really bad throws, but I mean it's a backup quarterback. Cleveland gets back in the game, and it's not until the fourth quarter. And again, the ball's on Andy Reid. Holy cow! First off, the play before that needs to be set up before. It was like, I think, 3rd and 16 after Henne takes a very bad sack.
Right.
Then, or 2nd and 16. Then 3rd and 16, Henne pulls a Mahomes and scrambles to make it 4th and half a yard. Like, Cleveland just was like, wait, he can run too? And he outran everybody. He dove for it. He gave up his body, showing again, even the backup quarterback knows what's on the line, trying to move the chains. Because again, if Cleveland gets the ball back with 2 minutes there, they have a chance to go down and win it. They're only down by 5.
And you never know with Cleveland. You just never know.
You never know. Which again, also Cleveland, their first half game plan, they forgot how to run. They forgot they're a run first.
Look, they were nervous. I think that's pretty obvious.
I think
no one's
clearly
gonna say it.
Stefanski, who will probably be coach of the year,
right,
got away from himself and got away from his team, and that was clear. And I think in the second half they all settled down.
Right.
Which also gives me, again, Cleveland will probably be there in the future, folks. The Browns are not going to go away.
This is inexperience in the playoffs showing itself, and that's not a bad thing. You have to lose to learn to win. It's just very rare that you get a team in there that doesn't have experience that wins. It does happen,
but
of course. It's like every 10 years something like that happens. But no, look, they clearly had nerves. Like it was obvious, and the Chiefs have obviously been here before.
Yes,
I
believe Andy Reid to pass do a rollout bootleg on 4th and half a yard, pass it to his best receiver with his backup quarterback, and they get it to seal the deal.
Right. Can I talk about Andy Reid for a minute?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, I was gonna say, if I'm not mistaken, this is their 3rd AFC Championship game in a row.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to say this: Bill Belichick is the best coach in the NFL.
Yes.
Andy Reid, in my opinion, in terms of career, is very, very close behind him.
Yes.
He just doesn't have the titles, but he has 2 teams now, an NFC and an AFC team that he has led to 3 or more AFC championship games in a row.
Yes, that is true. He's the only coach in history not to just lead one team to host specifically host where they're high enough seed to host 3 straight conference championships. He's done it twice. He's done it with 2 different teams.
And if the Chiefs go there again next year, that would be literally incredible.
Yeah.
The other thing too is he has more than one Super Bowl to his name in terms of winning Super Bowls with a team. He only has 1 as a head coach.
Right.
He's been to 2 as a head coach. I believe I can't remember how many he won with Green Bay, but
he won 1. He was Super Bowl 31. He was a part of Mike Holmgren's staff.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt about in terms of titles, Belichick is the best, but. Andy Reid is an incredible coach and deserves to be respected. And, this is a guy who in his personal life has had a tremendous amount of, what's the word I want to hear? Tragedy. I don't want to go into it, but tremendous amount of tragedy. But he's up there for one of the greatest coaches of all time at this point. He's in the top 5 in my opinion. But the Chiefs win the game. By the way, Ray, so I saw this earlier this morning. Mahomes passed concussion protocol. Shockingly, does not have a concussion. Ray and I were discussing this after the game that he will probably magically not have a concussion.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I really do hope that is the case. I mean, he definitely got his bell rung. I'm not saying he's playing with a concussion, but he did pass concussion protocol, so he will be playing in the AFC Championship game as of today.
Yeah. So predictions, I think. Look, the Chiefs are to be the champ. You have to beat the champ. Yeah. And I think that the Bills have a tall order in front of them. Not to say that they can't. Right. I think these 2 teams match up very, very well. But especially with Mahomes starting and being presumably healthy, I think Kansas City just has that slight A, experience, and B, talent edge. And I think that that's going to be enough for Kansas City to win. So I'm calling it right here, a rematch of the first Super Bowl ever in Super Bowl 55. The Packers beat the Chiefs 35-10 55 years ago. I think it'll be very different if those 2 teams meet up now. Right. But I'm saying the Chiefs versus the Packers in Super Bowl 55. That's my prediction.
That's my prediction as well. I will not bet against Kansas City. I'm going to echo everything you just said, Ray. I'm not going to vote against the team that has just won. The only X factor that would change my mind is if Mahomes is in fact heavily concussed, which I do not believe he is.
Correct.
So obviously, if he shows up and he's not ready to play, Bills have a really good chance of taking that game.
I agree.
But no, playoff experience is heavily playing into this one for me. Yeah. Again, Kansas City's the obvious pick. All right, anybody who picks the Bills this week is just throwing it out there to look good if they win.
Yeah,
let's just be honest about it.
I mean, look, it's going to be a good game, but I think again, Kansas City has every edge. I think
every edge,
including home field.
Home field and an extreme amount of experience, amount at this point. And Andy Reid, I think they have the better coach too. That's no offense to the Bills coach.
Sean McDermott, I think is a good coach and is becoming a good coach or very good coach, but. We'll see what happens.
I remember when the Rams played the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and McVay was there, and everybody's talking about this young kid. He's a genius.
And McVay was clearly outmatched.
Completely outcoached. And, in fact, he said that to his credit after the game. He's like, I got outcoached by Bill Belichick today.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It just goes to show you can be a genius, but there's experience is everything. And,
Yes.
Bill Belichick, we're on to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Well, when we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's doing right now.
Speaking
I wonder what
of coach,
he's actually. I just think of this. What is he doing right now? He's never had an offseason this long.
I don't know if he's pulling his hair out. I don't know.
He's probably on a beach somewhere and enjoy. This is nice, man. Maybe maybe we don't need to be in the playoffs every year.
Probably relaxing. Probably, yeah.
Hanging out with Nick Saban.
You
won again, huh?
Once the season is over, I'm sure officially over. That's when I think Belichick will go back into okay, drafting mode. Let's go.
Right.
But until then, I think he's probably taking a nice long vacation.
Yeah. To be fair, he had plenty of time to figure. They knew they weren't going to be in the playoffs, so he's had plenty of time to wrap his head around that. And watch out for him. That's what I'm gonna tell everybody. Don't doubt him. Don't doubt that guy.
Very curious to see what happens with that. So speaking of coaches, though, a couple coaching moves around the NFL. This will be our last NFL story. Spent a lot on football, folks, but this is obviously a big week in the NFL.
Right.
Arthur Smith went to the Falcons, offensive coordinator, offensive guru for the Titans, revitalized Ryan Tannehill's career. See if he's got a little magic left for Matt Ryan. Urban Meyer, this was a big deal. Of course, won several championships in college with Florida and Ohio State. Now going to the NFL for the first time. It's been a long time. He's been pushing it off. Now he's like, all right, I'll take a chance with the Jags, get a chance to go back down to Florida. I'm familiar with the area. Going to have the #1 pick in Trevor Lawrence. See what he can do with that at the NFL level. Obviously, we've seen a lot of great college coaches fail at the NFL level. We've seen some success, too. Jimmy Johnson, of course, the most famous great college guru, then went to the NFL and replicated that success. But, of course, you mentioned Nick Saban before, went to the NFL and floundered before going back to college. We'll see what happens with Urban Meyer. And Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the Niners, is now the head coach of the Jets. This is a big deal for a few reasons. It's the first Muslim head coach in NFL history. But also, this is the exact opposite of Adam Gase. You had a terrible run with him, with that coach, and you really got the guy who's the exact opposite. But he's saying all the right things, talking about accountability, talking about trying to put together a staff that complements his weaknesses to try and fill in those gaps. And the Jets, with the #2 overall pick, you see what he does. But I'm going to be I wouldn't be surprised if he did what Washington did last year, which is go heavy defense. And, again, as a defensive guy, and really try and build up that side of the ball first and try and win some games that way for the Jets. But I think they got themselves probably arguably I would say the best coach on the market. And we'll see what happens with that. So some big coaching moves, some rumors around for the Eagles, nothing solid yet. From the Eagles, I would wait for Eric Bieniemy to be available from the Chiefs, but that's me.
Right.
But, Lee, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are this always happens at the end of the season, and there's a honeymoon period for these teams. I actually can't believe I'm saying this, but I hope the Jets get somebody that does something. Period. All right, I hate ripping apart the Jets coaches they've had in the past, but you're not winning, so something's wrong, right? It could be a culture thing too. I never like to make predictions about who's going where with coaching because there's so much more than just the coach. Can you get your culture established? Can you get your players to buy into the system? It's always a hit or a miss. So it's an interesting offseason for sure. And like I said, I think the Eagles need to show patience more than they show, we got to get someone in here. That's not the way to do it. You know what I mean? And to be fair, they picked a good coach last time. We'll see what they do this time.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see.
I'm not ever going to hate on Doug Peterson. I'm not ever going to hate on the guy.
No, he brought you a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
same thing with Tom Coughlin and me.
I have seen people do it. I've seen people rip him, and I'm like, I refuse to not be grateful for him bringing a Super Bowl.
He had a winning record in 5 years. Yes, his last year was terrible, but other than that, he was a great coach.
Fans are weird, man. Fans are weird. They expect to win every year, and the thing is if you get anything in your lifetime, you should be happy.
Yeah.
I like Andy Reid too. He never won a Super Bowl here.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Moving on, that does it for football. Very long football segment. Hockey has started.
It has?
Yes, it has. Oh. My Rangers split with the Islanders. 2 very weird games. They lost 4-0, then they won 5-0. Varlamov, a weird deal. He bounced back nicely, actually, against Boston last night.
That was a good response.
Yeah, for the Islanders. So they're 2-1. By the way, Boston, has played 3 games, has yet to score an even strength goal. What?
They will. Don't worry.
They will, but
Wait, look, we got to remember. Look, there was no preseason this year.
Yes.
All right, this is basically preseason. Like I hear hockey fans freaking out about scores 3 games into the season. Relax.
Yeah.
Relax.
No.
Yes, every game is more important, and yes, it's all relative.
Yes.
Relax. I actually don't believe, Ray, I have to look this up. I don't believe there's an undefeated team in the league right now. All right?
I don't believe so either.
So
I'm not sure. I mean,
that's a good
except for the
thing.
Stars who have yet to play a game because
that
of
doesn't
COVID.
count. They're just we'll talk about them in a minute. But my point is, it's easy. It's going to take 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, if your team's still not popping, then you should really get worried.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this to a lot of folks too, even after the Rangers lost 4-0. People are like, "Oh, the Rangers are done." I'm like, it's the first game of the season.
Come on, and you're playing a really good Islanders team, and they responded. Look, the Rangers are a very, very good team.
Yes,
right?
And they're infamously for starting slow.
Right.
Like,
well, I was going to say this. I do think they're I can't believe I'm saying this because in any other division it's not true, but they're a bubble team. Yeah. Not to make the playoffs, but in that 4-team kind of group that may or may not make it. Two of the teams in the East are not making it, and they're going to deserve to be there.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just saying, like, calm down, hockey fans. You give it some time. Let your team settle in. They're human beings. You know, they've been off, and you got to keep in mind, it's not like they've just been playing every day. This is COVID times. Yeah. All right. Let them gel a little bit.
Yeah, like you said, no preseason is a big deal, and especially for a young team like the Rangers, that is a big deal.
Right.
Like they could use that ice time together, and they didn't really have it.
No preseason. They had an intra-squad game, and they're playing a ton. The only good news is every team's playing a little bit more than normal.
Yeah.
The average time off between games now is much, much less than it's been in previous seasons. So, like, maybe it won't even take. I'd say this: 5 games in. I won't even go 2 weeks. All right, 5 games is about a week and a half.
Yeah.
Then start judging your team. Calm down.
I would even say 10 games, but I think because, like you said, because there are so few games now, it might be too late if a team has a slow start after 10 games, it might be too late for them to bounce back.
If you go 2-8, you're not making the playoffs unless you have a magic turnarout. And it's possible, but it's
for hard. Sure, but you're really digging yourself a hole at that point.
Right. It's not like other years, and you got to remember, we talked about this, Ray, that not to go too far into the postseason here, but like every single game is a division game this year. It's going to make some incredible matchups towards the last game of the season, towards that last week or two, because every game is going to be a 4-point swing. So.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. I mean, you guys got off to a hot start. You beat Pittsburgh 2 in a row. And then you had a letdown game against Buffalo.
Yeah, of course. Same logic applies.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Buffalo played great. Give them credit. It happens. It's too early. We played 6 good periods in a row. We were kind of due for a bad period or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
We had a bad game. It's part of the season. You're not going to win them all, and I'm not going to freak out because we lost to Buffalo. Buffalo had a great game. They deserved it. Their stars starred last night.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and unfortunately yours didn't. So it just
right. And by the way, by the time we this airs, they've already played their next game.
That's the thing. Like, the Rangers are going to play the Devils tonight. Like, there's remember, folks, we're recording on Tuesday the 19th, January 19th. So this will drop a couple days later. It'll be interesting to see what happens
as the season shapes up. I will have much more in-depth thoughts on this, but I'm not gonna judge too many teams right now, 2 or 3 games into the season.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to see what happens in the Ranger goaltending situation. Just because Shesterkin looked bad against the Islanders, Georgiev looked great, but that's also experience. That's also there's a lot of things that could factor into that. We'll see what happens with those two. Again, I'm very happy the Rangers have a legit 1 and 1A probably, even though it's very sad what happened with the Lundqvist situation, which we've gone over many times on the show.
Right, he's back home and he's safe. His heart surgery was a success, so he's on the 1-year road to recovery. He keeps saying he wants to play again, so maybe we'll see him again.
We will see what happens. Really quickly, also just want to touch on the one team that hasn't played anything in the NHL yet is the DallasStars. They had themselves an outbreak of COVID. Yep. We knew this was a possibility. We knew this could happen.
Yep, 6 players got it.
What was that?
6 players got it.
6 players.
I thought the NHL
coaches, I think, too.
Right. The team in the NHL handled it well. We said this, that there's no way they're going to get through the season without something. And of course, it started the season with this. Again, you have guys traveling from all over the world into the locker room. There was a high risk factor to begin with. They caught it. The NHL wisely said you're taking off for a week. Players quarantined. They quarantined more players than had it to get rid of it, and they'll start their season here a few days after this episode ends, and that will hopefully be the end of it. Not excusing. Look, I can hear some people might be, well, you were all over the MLB. Yeah, I was. When like 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 30 teams had it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one team, and if the NHL has multiple breakouts, I will rip them too.
Yeah.
Okay, but as of right now, the integrity of the game's okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see what happens.
They'll make the games up. It'll be all right.
Right.
And
keeping in mind, this technically happened outside the season, to be fair.
Right.
All right?
Yeah,
that's a really important part of it.
It's like you said, it was guys who were traveling, coming back to the league, and it was
Right.
technically still preseason.
You mark my words, if the NHL does this wrong, which I do not believe they will do, I'll say that right now, I will be the first to jump all over them. But to be fair, the NHL and the NBA have handled this better than the NFL and MLB heavily.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we'll see what happens from here.
Yeah, we will. We will indeed. The other league, that, of course, basically same thing. NBA had a breakout right before the season started with Toronto, but have also seemed to really get things under control for the most part. And we need to just mention, of course, talk about that. The big news in the NBA this week, it's all in Brooklyn. It's all the Nets. They have a lot of drama with Kyrie Irving, who, of course, speaking of COVID protocol, broke COVID protocol to go to the club, go to a party for his sister's birthday. Has missed now a week's worth of games. Basically said he doesn't want to play in Brooklyn. It's just drama abound. Yeah. And again, this is a guy who arguably was probably part of the reason why, yes, Cleveland won a championship a few years ago with LeBron, but also why that team quickly was broken up and imploded because he was a diva. He went to Boston. I think, did he go to Boston? I can't remember. But the dude's a diva. The thing I know most about Kyrie Irving isn't even the fact that he's a great player anymore. It's that he's a flat earther and that he's a moron. So he's a diva. So instead of trying to break things up in Brooklyn mortgaged his future. Literally sent almost a half dozen first round draft picks to the Rockets. It was a 4-team trade. Other pieces got shipped around as well. And James Harden, and it's only 2 games in, but James Harden looks rejuvenated playing alongside Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. James Harden is now a Net alongside KD, and if Irving ever comes back and gets his head out of his butt, that's going to be a very formidable top 3.
Right.
Is of course, the thing we always ask with these superstars, are they going to be able to spread the ball around enough? Are they going to get in each other's case? And obviously with somebody like Irving, who just seems to be a toxic presence wherever he goes, that's really the question. But KD and Harden are like, yeah, we want to win a championship here. And they seem intent on it and have so far 2 games in. It's a very small sample size. Suddenly the Nets look like they've turned it around, hovering around 500. But this was a blockbuster trade to send Harden from the Rockets to the Nets. Again, the Rockets basically mortgaging their future. There was also a rumor that they were going to straight up trade Harden for Simmons in Philadelphia, but Houston pulled out at the last minute, which was, I think, honestly, for Philly's benefit. But Lee, what are your thoughts on the Harden trade?
I think that the tactics to win an NBA championship are pretty obvious nowadays, and it is, whether people like it or not, to build super teams. All right, and Brooklyn is doing that. In terms of Irving, it's like, I'm a big believer. Okay, we brought these guys in to win. Do you want to be part of that or not? And they're forcing his hand to have to, like you said, get his head out of his butt and make a decision here. All right, and I have a feeling with guys like Harden there, if he's not willing to buy into that mentality, that culture, he's not going to survive there. We saw this too. We've seen this in Los Angeles. We've seen this many places where a player doesn't fit in and they end up leaving. Some guys have to be the star on their own, and you won't win that way, but that's the way it is. So we're seeing that there's another super team being built. Again, whether people like it or not, that's how you win NBA championships right now. All right,
that's why there's no parity in the NBA.
Right, exactly. All right, and again, I don't want to go into whether I agree with that or not. That's just the way it is, right? Yeah. So give it to the Nets for doing that. The Sixers are, as you mentioned, they're doing well. Doc Rivers has that team really pumping. My attitude when coaching or as a GM is, if you're doing well, you don't make too many big changes. All right, like you don't need to bring in James Harden and say, okay, listen, now we really want to win. Well, we were winning. It can break team chemistry. Yeah. You can look all around the league to see that. Anytime you move a big piece like that to try and help, doesn't always pay off, especially this early in the season.
Yeah,
you do it late in the season, and it's an aged superhero that it's his last chance. That's a totally different move.
Right. No,
you know what I mean?
This feels like a direct move because of the Irving fallout.
Right. Yeah. So it's good on them. I think it's a smart move for their club. The Nets suddenly become this very powerful team. But again, look, this is a little different. Like, I don't necessarily like that, you can just be a horrible basketball team, make a couple great moves, and suddenly you're a champion, you're a world beater.
Yeah.
I don't. That's just not for me. I don't know, but that is the sport, and I've actually had a lot of basketball fans successfully explain that to me in a way that I understood. That's just how they play this game. I said, okay, that's fair. It's just that's not. I probably wouldn't do too well coaching that sport.
Well, that's
what
the
I'll
thing.
say.
I think more than any other sport, and again, it's also because there's only 5 guys on the court at a time, which
Right,
is
very true.
and I get that. There's small teams. You're only 5 or 6 guys deep on a bench most nights.
Right.
Maybe
Fair,
7
that's
or
fair.
8, but there's a lot more emphasis on the individual in basketball than I think in any other sport. And literally, it is the one sport where an individual can really turn a team around.
It's obvious. Yeah, we know that. So
and
good on the
sometimes
Nets.
even if it's a coach. I mean, to be fair, I just very briefly want to shout out my Knicks, who Tom Thibodeau. They've got, again, speaking about Doc Rivers in Philly, he's got them playing hard. Right. I can't. Again, the Knicks. This is sad, but they're 7-8. It's the best record they've had through 15 games in 5 years.
Right.
Right. Like the fact that there's
signs of life.
Exactly, it's a sign of life. And as a Knicks fan, I get we're not going to win the championship. I get we'll be lucky to make the playoffs. But this is the first time, literally in probably 5 years, that the team has had a sign of life.
There's signs of life. Yeah, that's what you wanted.
It's a positive turn for a first time in a while. They seem to be drafting better finally. They seem to be freaking building a decent team, right? I don't know if any of these guys are going to be superstars, but they're at least good pieces that might actually help us in the future. Anyway, speaking about pieces that might help us all in the future, moving to baseball, our last sport of the day. A lot going on there.
Hot stove.
The Padres. This trade broke late last night. The Padres continue to just take every other team's pitcher if possible. They trade a 3-team trade.
Wow, that sounds like another team I know, Ray. The way you're saying that is making me kind of laugh. Oh my God, a team's taking all the best players.
Well,
what?
The thing is you don't see typically this many players traded to one team in one offseason. Even as a Yankee fan, you don't usually see this many trades. They traded a 3-team trade, the Padres, the Mets, and the Pirates. Pirates, Joe Musgrove, who's probably the number 3 starter for the Pirates, is now probably going to be the number 5 with San Diego. Joe Musgrove goes to the Pirates. Prospects go to the plus Endy Rodriguez of the Mets goes to the prospects go to the Pirates. And then Joey Lucardi, who's a pitcher for the Padres, goes back to the Mets. Curious 3-team trade there. The Padres, I really think, come out again on top with this. And with that rotation, the Padres, I really think, I get the Dodgers are the defending champs, but it's, again, you don't get a championship for winning January. Obviously, if that was the case, it'd probably be the Mets and the Padres and the NLCS right now, because those are the 2 teams who have made the biggest moves. But, again, congrats. Good on the Padres for really wanting to be like, look, we have a window. We think it's the next 3 to 4 years. We're going all in. In a franchise and a market that typically doesn't do that. So, Lee, what are your any thoughts on the Joe Musgrove move?
No real thoughts. Like good on the Padres. It's the same thing as the Nets, man. Good on the Padres for finding the talent they need to win. It also brings a lot of pressure. You have to have the right manager in that club that's going to be able to handle that, everything that comes along. I don't remember the last time we talked about the Padres in this way. I mean, I know they're there
since the Tony Quinn days, in my opinion.
Right?
Really.
Yeah, I'm saying they've been getting there, but I don't remember the last time we were like, wow, this is a threat. But hey, good on. Look, they're making good deals. You have to bring in the right person to manage them. Again, I take a coaching and GM look at all these things, right?
Yeah.
Super teams do not win unless they're playing together. Don't care who you're talking about. You can go to any sport. People will say we're being hypocritical about basketball. When they weren't playing together, the Miami Heat, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the LA Lakers did not win. When they started playing together, they won with LeBron. All those teams. Okay, so. It's the same thing in baseball. You want to bring an all-star, and Ray, you can speak to this as a Yankees fan. You've had all-star teams on the Rangers, on the Yankees that didn't win.
They didn't
right?
win.
But when you have the right manager, they will. Right. So that's how I look at these things. It's great to get big pieces to the puzzle, but they have to play together. I know this. I coach this. I preach this. You will never show me a team that has won that was not together in that sense. And I'm not saying everybody has to like each other or love each other. You can hate someone else on your team, but you still got to be trying to win. I've seen that plenty of times.
Yeah.
All right. And it doesn't matter how many superstars you bring in. If you don't bond them together, it won't matter. So that's my attitude on this. Good on them. It's great to make good moves. Yeah. Right. I have a baseball team right now that's got a World Series roster that can't win.
Yeah.
Right. We got to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, one of the big things about your roster that you guys sound like you're close to doing, it's not official yet, but it's very close, is that you're bringing back probably the best catcher in baseball, JT Realmuto.
He is the best catcher in baseball, and if they let him go, again,
it sounds like that they came to an agreement. He wanted 5 years, close to $120 million originally. Phillies offered 5 years, $100. It sounds like obviously they negotiated getting somewhere in the middle. Probably
he wants to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty clear he wants to be here. I would have left
I think
already.
he also understands the market right now, especially with no fans in the stands. So it sounds like it's going to be closer to 5. It's going to be closer to the 5 years, 100.
Well, hopefully, if he's got a good agent, Ray, what they're doing is it'll be $100 million with about $20 million in bonuses, right?
Right.
You know what you tell a player like that? Look. Yeah, here's the situation. There's a little insight to contract negotiations. By the way, I would not want to be any athlete negotiating a contract in this year. I actually feel bad for a lot of these guys.
It's why you're actually seeing a lot of guys not go to arbitration hearings. They're just taking the 1-year deals that are offered to them.
Right, which is, by the way, that's exactly, I would be, if I was an athlete, 1-year deals are not a vote of confidence usually. I would completely understand that.
Yeah.
I'd take a 1 or 2 year deal and just renegotiate after this pandemic ends.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. It also means you can get traded. It also means you can sign something. There's a lot of things. All right, but when I look at this deal, I'm sure they said to him, look, we'll give you 5 years, $100 million. If you win the World Series, we'll give you a $10 million bonus every time you do it. All right, and it's just something like that. There's a lot of stuff that takes place off the air, if you will. All right, but yeah, he wants to be in Philadelphia. I think he would have left already. Plenty of teams would have taken him, and I bet you plenty of teams would have offered him that money.
Yeah,
I'm sure they have already. He wants to be here, so
right.
I think the Phillies are building the right way. They've had a lot of injuries. They've had horrible pitching. They're going the right direction. They're a World Series caliber team on paper, and now it's time to bring it together. And him not being there is a huge piece of that puzzle.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
So
yeah. I mean, plus your manager is a former catcher. He knows the importance of it.
Right.
And
the Phillies are not the losing team that they were before. I'll say 2006-07 time period where they really started to wake up again. Right. They're not that. They are the losingest team of all time in sports. That's factually true. But they're not a loser club anymore. They're a club that really wants to be there.
Yeah.
Right. And we've had some bad luck. We've had some bad decision making, but they're there. So
yes.
I'm hoping that he comes back. He is the best catcher in the game. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Phillies fan.
Yeah.
He is the best catcher. And anytime you can get a guy like that, you got to get him.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. So, speaking of guys who want to come back to where they already are, DJ LeMahieu sounds like he's going to re-sign with the Yankees finally after...
You know what I think of when I hear DJ LeMahieu, Ray?
What?
There's only one thought that comes to my head. And it was in the MLB The Show All-Star game in which DJ LeMahieu hit a home run and Ray Carcillo doing play-by-play on his Twitch and his TikTok profile. That's DJ LeMahieu! Yeah. That's all I can. That's every time I hear that name, I think of you now. Thanks. It's a problem. That. It's a problem because he's actually a pretty good ball player.
No, he is a great ball player. I mean, he's the first guy in 100 years to win a batting title in both leagues.
Right.
And so obviously the Yankees, it was a top priority to re-sign him. And honestly, again, talk about negotiation. The Yankees offered him 4 years, $75 million. He asked for 5 years, $100 million. The Yankees were like, listen, we'll come in the middle with the money. They said it sounds like they're settling at $90 million, but we'll throw in extra years. We'll give you 6 years, $90 million. This way, LeMahieu will probably retire as a Yankee. And if he doesn't, and if he isn't what he once it was, he's 32 years old already. Right, so he'll be 38 now when he comes out of this contract. This is probably a chance for him to, you know what? It's probably better in my best interest to get $15 million over 6 years, or for the next 6 years, than to get $20 million over the next 5.
Especially a player of that caliber.
Right,
and
you know
like
what
you
I mean?
said, we just talked about the 1 year deal. The 1 year deal is good for just an average player.
Yeah.
When you're a superstar like that, it's a different boat. And I wouldn't want to travel too much. Like I said, there's a lot of things. Unless he wants to play for another team. I don't know many players who don't want to play for the Yankees, though.
Yeah, no. LeMahieu's already said he wants to stay in New York. He wants to end his career as a Yankee, and I think this pretty much seals the deal on that. The other signing for the Yankees, this one I hate. Absolutely hate. Just shows that Brian Cashman's a moron. Corey Kluber, who... 3 or 4 years ago, sure, you sign this guy, you give this guy $11 million. But Corey Kluber hasn't pitched a full season now in 2 years. He's become a bit injury prone. The Yankees gave him a 1-year, $11 million deal. And look, I get it. It's low risk, high reward. It's only a year. Again, it's only a 1-year deal. But I think that with the Yankees, who are desperately trying to stay under the luxury tax and who desperately need more pitchers than just Corey Kluber, it feels like they gave him a little bit too much money to make sure they got something else this free agency season. It basically takes them out of the Bauer race because he wants $20 million a year. And to me, he's the best free agent market pitcher right now. And I get Kluber. There's a good thing about signing a veteran like Kluber. We have a lot of young pitchers: Devi Garcia, Clark Schmidt, Jordan Montgomery. You're also banking on the fact that Luis Severino will come back in June from another injury-plagued offseason. You don't know what you're going to get from Domingo Germán, another young pitcher who was suspended all of last year for spousal abuse.
Yikes.
Which, again, also, by the way, I am perfectly okay if the Yankees get rid of Chapman, get rid of Domingo Germán, get rid of all these guys who thinks it's okay to hit women because I can't stay. I hate them.
There's just no excuse for any of that. It's period. Yeah.
You do that to me, you're the scum of the earth. And I don't want you on my team. I don't want you in my city. I want you gone. But for some reason, the Yankees are like, oh, no, it's okay. Well, you throw 100 miles an hour and you give up game-winning home runs to the other team all the time, Chapman. So, yeah, we want to lose with this guy who hits people. What?
Right.
Anyway. I think this is a weird move. I get the positives of it. I think this is going to blow. I hope I'm wrong. I think it's going to blow up in their face, but at least it's only 1 year. So the Yankees, I'm not expecting much from us this year, unfortunately. I think we'll make the playoffs, or obviously we'll be in the playoffs.
Oh, you'll make the playoffs.
But I don't think we have the pitching to go deep into the playoffs. Because
we'll see. Like I said, man, the playoffs are always one of those things where it's the best team doesn't always win on paper. I've just talked about this. So, like I said, we'll see what happens. The Yankees are the Yankees. Yeah. The Yankees are who we thought they were.
Yeah, and very briefly before moving into comics, speaking of New York teams that treat women horribly, the Mets. Absolute disgusting. What else is new when you have a dumpster fire of an organization like that? And this is funny enough. This is not the first Mets general manager to ever do this. Mets general manager Jared Porter, who was in the office for 37 days, was fired this morning for sending explicit texts and pictures of his genitalia, we'll say, to a female reporter of the Cubs back in 2016 when he was a scouting personnel there with the Cubs. He has been fired because he's a disgusting human being. And he deserves to be out of baseball.
You know what? I'm going to say this, and Ray, you can do it if you want to, because I know this. Because I don't care. I'm putting myself out there. You will never catch me ever doing something like that for every reason that it's wrong to do something like that. And should that ever somehow happen, which it won't, I expect to be held accountable by everyone.
Yeah.
All right. It is disgusting. I do not know what it is with these people in positions of power, specifically men, who think that it just lets them do whatever they want to do with a free pass. All right? And again, disgusting. I don't know what else to say. I'm not going to even acknowledge it with much talking. It's disgusting. You have my commitment. My wife, obviously, to my children. I'll say this. I have no problem putting this out there. I will never do something to betray your trust in that way. And should something ever come out, and I'm saying this on purpose, I will be held accountable and I will take that punishment. The reason I can say that so easily, it will never happen. You know, Ray, I remember one time when I was in college, we got drug tested regularly. And I remember when I went to go do my test, my coach always would laugh. Because I won't go into details at all, but it's a urine test, right? And my point is, he would always laugh because I would just go. And I was like, what is that so funny? And he used to tell me, he's like, you just have nothing to hide and it's obvious. Like, you have just no problem. He's like, some people come in here and they can't go and they failed. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's standards. Set high standards for yourself and live by your own rules. Yeah, it's disgusting. Just disgusting.
Absolutely terrible, disgusting. I don't know how we're going to transition into WandaVision with that, but
Ray, you and I were raised by powerful, strong women.
That's true.
I married a strong woman. Man, do I respect strong females.
Yeah.
Especially Strong female characters.
Yeah, so that brings us now into our geek section of the show. WandaVision debuted on Disney Plus last week, and of course, again, we mixed it up. We felt sports was a bigger thing, and also
no, it's fine. That's
WandaVision. Fine. I want to put it out there right now before we get into the specifics of each episode, because there's been a lot of blowback where people are like, "Oh, this is terrible. It's not good."
Oh my god, I know.
It's very different.
Man.
In terms of, it's not The Mandalorian, folks. It's
we're going to talk
an
about
action
that.
show. It's not. It's a slow burn. And I will say that maybe this show would have benefited from being bingeable. I will admit that maybe not releasing everything.
100% will be better binged. I will say that, but
Yes.
that's not a reason to complain about it coming out.
Exactly.
Ray, I gotta say, I hate to be this on a pedestal type situation or the higher whatever. Take the high ground here. What are you complaining about? What are you complaining about? We got a Marvel TV show and it's not moving fast enough for you.
Yeah,
it's boring. Guys, I'm sorry, I can't get behind this. Like we're in a pandemic and Marvel's just here's a free show for you. Yeah. Here you go. Here's WandaVision, which, by the way, in my opinion, is not boring at all. It's okay if I don't agree with you on that.
I love that it's a slow burn.
Right. Well, what are we doing here? You're complaining about Marvel on TV. Shut up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying right now? Please, sir, can I have some more?
Yeah, I can't wait for episode 3.
My God, you don't have to wait. You gotta wait. We gotta wait. We gotta wait a week. Oh my God, somebody get the bread and milk. We gotta wait a week for it. Oh my God, the bread and milk. I'm going to get the bread and milk. What are you people doing? Shut up. You're gonna ruin this for all of us.
Yeah, exactly.
They gave you all of Wonder Woman in one shot. It sucked.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Yeah. They're giving you 9 weeks of this stuff.
Yeah.
And you're unhappy about it.
Yeah.
Shut up! You make me blow my mind. All right? I just don't understand the impatience of people. If you want real drama, exciting crap, the inauguration's on Wednesday.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you people? Yeah. You know what you say? You say thank you. They gave you Luke Skywalker with the green lightsaber.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
This is your best rant ever.
I don't rant about sports. I rant about the geeks. This is where we're opposite.
Yes.
You go nuts on sports. I go nuts on people that don't understand the gift that they're being given right now.
Yeah.
Excuse me for a moment while I go back to my own voice. Beep, boop, beep.
Yeah, no, I mean, you couldn't have said it. I couldn't have said it better myself.
You gotta
be
kidding me.
It's exactly it. Like, why? I don't understand why people are complaining.
It pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like you're owed something.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking about? What are you owed? What are you owed as a Marvel fan right now?
Well, I even saw...
We can't get a good Batman!
I saw one person who was basically like, we haven't had anything from Marvel in like a year and a half, and this is what they bring us? They start with this slow thing, and it's like, yeah. They're setting up all of Phase 4 probably with this. This is gonna be so many ramifications from this single show. Like, I'm okay. Like again, like you said, it's been a year and a half. They're drawing it out for us over the next 2 months. Be thankful, because then when it's over, you're all gonna be like, "Well, where's the next thing?"
No, this is what's gonna happen. When this ends, and I'll tell you what's gonna happen, because I know Marvel. Listen to me, Ray. I'm gonna shut this argument down right now, okay? And if I'm wrong, you know me. I will always admit that I'm wrong, okay? Yeah. This is what's going to happen. I'll tell you why it's a slow burn. 2 reasons. 1, because you idiots can't keep your mouth shut about any spoiler ever that happens.
That's also true.
Luke Skywalker was trending on Twitter 2 seconds after that episode ended. It was horrible, okay? Number 2, they're setting you up. They're setting you up. There's going to be a huge twist at the end, and then you're going to get this. Go back and watch every episode again, because they're just going to realize they've been hiding stuff the whole time. All right? Oh! Yeah. Oh, I get mad with this. I don't like. What are you owed? What are you owed?
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a huge payoff. There's gonna be a huge payoff and a twist you don't see coming.
Yeah.
And you know how I know that, Ray? 22 movies worth of examples.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. I just don't get why people don't get the memories, the short-term memories of people that they don't get it, that they completely forgot about the whole Marvel Universe. 22 movies.
I'm texting our producer, Caitlin, to let her know that I just had a rant.
Yes.
Well, I just had my best rant.
It's about an hour and 15 minutes into the episode, so... Well, look, episode by episode.
I wasn't planning on doing that, by the way. I don't get it. And again, I'll get off the topic now, but just...
Yeah.
Like, again, we've got people on our page that were like, oh, it's so boring. I'm just like...
You just don't get it.
Go watch Bridgerton on Netflix if you're bored.
Yeah, it's just like...
You want to be bored?
Whatever. But no, honestly, look, the attention to detail they're showing with this show. I mean, let's go episode by episode now. Again, they released the first 2 episodes. It's a 9-episode miniseries. It's probably only going to be a 1-season thing. But again, this is going to be huge setups for Phase 4. We know this is going to affect Doctor Strange, probably going to affect Spider-Man. It's going to affect everything.
Everything. It's going to do what Marvel stuff does. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it does a lot of stuff. It pokes fun at old classic television. The first episode tributes to I Love Lucy and the Dick Van Dyke Show. They have old school commercials full of Easter eggs that are paying homage to Wanda's specific past. The commercial in the first episode talks about Stark Industries. It's a toaster that looks very much like Iron Man's helmet in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and Ultron too.
And Ultron in bits as well, which of course also harkens back to Vision's past. Right. So again, there's a lot of stuff there. There's the wacky neighbor Agnes, who has been theorized, and the more I look into it, the more I buy the idea that this could be Agatha Harkness, who is another magic user in the Marvel Universe, who kind of helps Wanda at one point and kind of helps teach her some stuff. But I'm curious to see where they go with that. Because Agatha's very much most magic users in the Marvel Universe that isn't Doctor Strange. They kind of toe the line between good and evil depending on what's going on.
Those are the best, by the way.
Those are the best. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea is that basically that there is someone watching this episode as we speak. We see the Sword logo at the very end of this episode. For those of you who don't know, Sword is the Shield equivalent to basically the sister program to Shield. Shield handles stuff on Earth. Sword handles stuff outside of Earth. It's a space thing. Yeah, but it could be. They could obviously broaden that scope, and of course, and both Lee and I have theories as to what is happening here in the universe.
By the way, before you go into that, I do want to say that, and I probably should have plugged this when I was screaming. Watch the show with us on streamlounge.io because of this reason. We get to discuss this stuff live on the air. You can interact with us.
Yes.
All right. It will if you truly do think this show is boring, and again, I'm half kidding on me being angry with that. I'm seriously don't get that. But if you think this is boring, come watch it with us because it won't be boring. We'll tell you things that you don't even know about. Right? Because again, if you don't know some of the stuff that Ray and I know about this stuff, maybe it is boring. I don't know. But when you have the kind of I'm bragging about you and I a little bit, Ray, but when you have the depth of knowledge that you and I have, there's a lot going on here maybe people don't know about, right? So come watch it with us. I just want to give that plug. Streamlounge.io, we watch it live every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and there are replays of it as well if you can't get there at that time. But watch it with us. That's the whole point, so that I can scream at you on the air and not afterwards.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Predictions,
and something I also realized is something they're doing, which is everything is black and white right now. At least the first 2 episodes until the very, very end of episode 2.
99% of it was in black and white. Yeah.
Right. There's very little things that are in color. Specifically the beeper on the toaster, and I also want to. And there's also, we'll get into it. There's a little bit of blood in episode 2. There's also a little toy copter, and I want to say I just realized that as I'm thinking about it, the stuff that's out of place.
Right.
Is typically the stuff that pops up in color. Stuff that would be out of place in these sitcom-esque episodes that make them more jarring. And I think that's something that needs to be said. Other things that come up out of place. There's a funny scene where the idea of episode 1 is that Vision has his boss over for work and hijinks ensue as Wanda can't cook. And all this other stuff.
Right.
And we also see, by the way, an expansion of her powers that we haven't seen before where she alters reality. Very, very blatantly, especially in episode 2, but it starts in episode 1. And it's a question of is she, is this her? Is this whatever's affecting them? Is this power? Lee will get into his theory of the stones. I have a theory as well that this is all Wanda. But it's stuff that's out of place also when the boss starts to choke at one point in the episode. And basically the illusion starts to break. Most of the episode is shot in 4:3, which if you don't know, everything now is in a 16:9 aspect ratio. Back then things were 4:3. And you actually see after the opening sequence, the screen shrink into 4:3, and then things go back to 16:9 when the illusion starts to break for Wanda.
With a different frame rate too. I think that's important to clarity. Different pixel rate.
Right. So you see little things change or when they don't fit into this illusion. This world that might be being created by Wanda. I believe it is. Lee, you want to get into your Stones theory as we get into talking about episode 2?
I'll expand upon it because I've talked about it before in other episodes. But the Stone theory is basically that they're somehow stuck in the soul zone between the snap and the blip, or some time around that.
Right.
And that Wanda is, and this is where our theories are kind of similar, that Wanda is manipulating that world to match hers. So again, my thought is that she's potentially in the Soul Stone with Vision and a lot of other people that were snapped away, or that she is manipulating several people snapped away into her own little world,
right?
And she doesn't want to leave that. By the way, by my theory, that means the sword is being created by her. It means that a lot of these things are being created by her to help them break out of that, or people are trying to fight to see their actual reality. And with the Stones theory, Ray, you're saying it's an expansion of her power. Right. I'm saying she's using other stones within that power. So the Reality Stone is red, the Ether, the Time Stone is green, which she does manipulate time in this show, and the Space Stone, which is blue, she does manipulate that as well in terms of just the scene changes. So I also wanted to say this too, and again, this could all be wrong. I keep saying that, but on the magic box, on the sword logo, there are noticeably 6 stars or 6 dots or 6 bullets of some type, which matches the 6 Infinity Stones. And that's why I keep thinking there's something there. Here's what I don't think. I don't think Marvel and Disney are just handing us sword and handing us all of these things because, here it is. This is what it is. It's classic Marvel deception. Classic.
Right.
So nothing is what it seems. And that doesn't mean I'm going to be right or Ray's going to be right or we're both wrong.
Right.
It just means that we have no idea what's going on. And I love that. I love that feeling, by the way.
Yes.
That's what's really annoying you at home is you just don't know what's going on.
Right.
And you have to
why
sit
you
and
want
wait.
to binge this, is that you want to know, you want to know immediately and you can't have
be in
that
the know.
satisfaction. So deal. Welcome to how TV used to be. So
nobody here ever watched Lost for 6 years? Come on.
Oh, goodness. And Game of Thrones just did this a couple of years ago. I mean, it ended terribly, but you didn't know what was going to happen. But, you didn't know it was going to end terribly.
We didn't know how The Mandalorian was going to end, but you were all fine with that.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's just, I don't know.
There's also more payoffs in those.
I think it's also certain things. I'll say this also. I think it's also because the bar for Star Wars has been set a little lower after some swings and misses.
Oh, absolutely. But those episodes...
Yeah.
Outside the Frog Lady episode, most of those episodes I had some huge payoff at the end.
Right.
Like you felt very satisfied. Outside the Frog Lady, I felt satisfied every week.
Yeah.
But again, this show follows a lot of the traditional TV laws. Again, I said this on the live stream, was that Ray and I have a traditional broadcasting background. So we're fascinated just with the set design, with the pixelation, with the aspect ratio, with, how they filmed it. Like, here's another one. Like, if you look at episode 1 versus episode 2, episode 1, as Ray said on the live stream, very much Dick Van Dyke. Episode 2, very much Bewitched. It borrows.
Right, yes.
But
go
in
from
episode
the 50s
1
to the 60s, yeah.
Right. In episode 1 in the 50s, there's only wide set camera angles.
Yeah.
Just like the shows in the 50s. There are no African Americans because there were no African Americans on TVs in the 50s. The 60s episode 2, you have some over the shoulder angles. You have some close-ups. You have an African American woman show up, who we'll talk about in a minute.
And you have Herbert. You have also Vision's African American friend, and you have Wanda's African American friend.
Right. So that was something that it would not have happened in the 50s, which is something I think the show is quietly nodding to in the sense of this was a problem. Not to mention these were filmed in front of live studio audiences, which is awesome.
Yeah, so there's laugh tracks and all that other stuff and whatnot.
It's real laughter. That's real laughter. It's funny. There was a real studio audience there when they did that.
Yeah. So I mean that's a big deal. Also moving into episode 2, it's more Bewitched. Want to briefly mention that in this episode they mentioned Hackensack. That takes place in Westview, both cities in New Jersey. I think so. Just a little fun thing, being from Jersey. I think that this takes place in Jersey. And this goes into my theory as well. My theory is that Wanda's powers have gone haywire, whether because of AIM or Hydra or some other, there's been a rumor out there about Mephisto. I do not believe that they're going to be bringing Mephisto, but they do bring in Wanda's twins at the end of episode 2. She's pregnant with twins. We know that, and we know, of course, in the comics, the twins get their souls from Mephisto, basically, which of course blows up in their faces later. Is Wanda messing with reality in ways? Is this an expansion of her powers? Is this from a stone? But how far is this? How has she encased this entire city in a bubble? Do the people know? Do some know? We also know that, again, if Agnes is Agatha Harkness, did she put herself into the bubble to try and get Wanda out? Is Sword trying to get into the bubble to try and get Wanda out? We have a radio voice here that sounds very much like Randall Park, who we know plays Jimmy Woo.
Definitely him. Yeah.
In this show, he's a SHIELD agent. Could now be with Sword, but we know that it seems like there's people trying to get to Wanda, to break the illusion, to get through to her, to see, they keep referencing the radio and the voice, like, who's doing this to you? What's wrong? And so it gives me the idea that this is more, and it could be influenced by a stone or two, but that Wanda has basically had some sort of a break from reality, much like she does in the comics, and is prone to in the comics. Again, because she's one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful character technically in the Marvel universe. I mean, she's one of a handful of characters that can rewrite reality on a whim, and she has on multiple occasions. So it could be the idea that her power after Vision's death, after Endgame, she's gone off the deep end.
Right, and the idea is we will find out what's happening as the show continues, and it's okay if we're right or wrong or anywhere in between. That's the fun part of the slow burn, is that you get to make predictions like this. Yeah. Some other predictions. I have a feeling we will see her brother at some point in this show. I've been thinking about that more and more. I think we will see Quicksilver at some point in the show. Mm-hmm. Within the commercials, now I don't know how they're going to do this, because Wanda's father is Magneto in canon. Okay, that's very important. In the comics, it's Magneto. They could easily explain my theory here away by maybe she's adopted or something like that. But I'm starting to wonder if the two people in the commercials are her parents. Because I was remembering in Age of Ultron, they were talking about her parents went through the floor. Remember that? Right. Right. So she had parents in Age of Ultron that died, and obviously Magneto's not one of them at that time. So I'm wondering if the two people in the commercial are her mother and father. Because the commercials are negative memories, right? Hydra's in one, Tony Stark. Yeah, I remember Ray and I were discussing this. Tony Stark is not someone that Wanda likes. In fact, if you watch the movies, she is rarely around Tony. Rarely. The only time they're actually in the same room together is when they're discussing the Sokovia Accords, and he's kind of Stark's in the corner of the room. He doesn't say anything. Yeah. Right. So they don't have much interaction in the movies. So he's a very painful memory for her. But we'll see. I think her brother's going to show up. And yes, I do think that Dottie, the one who runs the town, I think Agatha, Agnes, there's something there. There's a lot going on that we don't know about. And I really enjoy that mystery of where this is going.
And speaking of the commercial, again, this episode, they reference Baron von Strucker, who in this universe is the reason why her and Quicksilver's powers manifest. Right. And experiments on them, obviously referencing, again, Hydra. Very blatantly the Hydra symbol in the commercial here.
And that's why I think it's deception. They're not going to just give you something like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So it's very curious to see what happens. There's also been talk, and I also think, I want to put this out there, I think this is not the case. So there's a beekeeper who appears at the end of the episode. Right. People are talking about, well, it's AIM. I don't think it's AIM. It could be a reference to AIM, but again, they had the sword logo on the back, so I'm curious if it's another agent. Somebody's also like, oh, it's Swarm. That's one of the main villains. I'm like,
it's too obvious.
It's too obvious. Also, Swarm is another evil Nazi who transforms himself into a living swarm of bees. That's what's called Swarm. And it's like, I don't think they're gonna do Swarm like that. I think that's a little out there even for this.
Here's the deal with the beekeeper, right? Like, No one's going to guess what that is. I can tell you that right now. No one's probably going to accurately guess what that is. I think what people should be paying attention to in that scene, and I think we're all paying attention to the wrong thing of who's the beekeeper? Who's the beekeeper? What you should be paying attention to is that Wanda reversed time.
Yeah.
Okay? That is what you should say. And obviously whoever the beekeeper is was able to be manipulated by that action. Right? So Wanda reversed time. That's the big key in that scene, is that she's able to do that now, right? And yeah, we do know the twins are going to be born because there is trailer footage, unless it's fake,
of her and Vision each
of
holding
kids,
a baby. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
No, we don't see, by the way, in the trailers, because it does look like each week's going to be a different decade.
Yeah,
we don't see much past the 80s, and then there's a couple of shots of what looks to be the 90s.
Yeah, it looks like Roxanne or something, or
right. We see
Roseanne, not Roxanne. Roseanne.
Yeah, Roseanne. We see a little Full House type stuff.
Yeah.
So like we see a very quick clip, but most of the trailer is the first probably 3 episodes.
Yeah.
All right. Next episode will take place obviously in the 70s.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be the Brady Bunch episode in the next episode, which is the 70s.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm enjoying this show. I'm sorry some of you found it boring. I really mean that. Not sarcastically. I mean that genuinely. But stick with it. It's going to get really good, and I have a feeling towards the end people are like, I couldn't believe they went there. That's incredible. I think we will see Captain America.
Yes.
I do. By the way, what's his name? Chris
Evans.
Chris Evans saying, and I knew this was going to happen. I kind of want to play Cap some more. And
supposedly now he's gone back on that, where like somebody's like, the story came out that Chris Evans might become Captain America again in some way, and he basically tweeted out saying, well, this is the first I've heard of it. So
here's what's going to happen. He's saying that because it's true. He's going to show up. He's going to show up from time to time. But he's not going to have a major role in a film. He's going to be a cameo.
Especially with multiverses and all this other stuff now being thrown in. It wouldn't be surprising.
And again, by my theory, you will see him in this show at some point. Yeah. But yeah, he's saying that because he's of course he signed a contract that here's the thing. It's probably not a new contract. It's probably just part of his contract that after Endgame, you have to appear here, and here. It's one day's work.
Right.
You are Captain America.
Yeah.
Until you're not.
You have to deal with it.
Till Falcon is.
Right. So there's that. Also, real quick, couple other Easter eggs this episode. Some folks are saying that there's references to Nicholas Scratch, another wizard, another magic user in the Marvel Universe. Also, reference to Grim Reaper in the opening to the second episode. You see his helmet in the rafters of the house, which, of course, Grim Reaper, a longtime Avengers villain, also specifically has messed with Wanda and the Vision a lot. Also, brother to Wonder Man, who was another Avenger who was supposed to have made a couple of cameos by now, but it always seems that he's supposed to be played by Nathan Fillion. Supposedly, his part always gets cut. So he was actually supposed to make a brief appearance as Simon Williams. Not with his powers yet in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 actually, and that got cut actually. So curious to see if at somehow other Avengers, lesser Avengers, because Wanda also has an interesting relationship with Wonder Man. Wonder Man actually, it was his brainwaves in the comics that helped bring Vision to life. It wasn't the Mind Stone, which of course obviously it makes a lot of sense why they did that in the movies.
Right.
But
that was one of the better departures from canon that they did.
Right, exactly.
Because it's as good, it's better than the canon. Like that. By the way, that's the only time you can break from canon is you come up with a better idea. Those are very, very rare.
Yeah. So that was a great thing there, for sure. So yeah, but excited for episode 3. Can't wait. Really looking forward to seeing what happens.
Friday night, 8 p.m., 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
Pacific.
See us on
Streamlounge.io. You will enjoy it. It's not just a plug. It's a way to be involved with our show.
And if you want to catch up, the replays are available now at Streamlounge.io. Right. So
with the first 2 episodes and all season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yes.
You can watch our reaction to Luke Skywalker anytime you want on demand.
Yes.
Which I've done several times shamelessly.
He has. Speaking of Star Wars, a lot of stuff came out.
Right. I love Star Wars.
I know you love Star Wars.
I love it. I can't believe we're talking about it again. This is great.
A lot of Star Wars stuff. Actually, I'm going to flip-flop some the topics here.
That's fine with me.
We're going to go first to, speaking of Disney Plus Star Wars, it is now almost finalized, kind of like those deals with LeMahieu and Realmuto. It sounds like LarsMikkelson, who does the voice of Grand Admiral Thrawn in Rebels, will actually play live action Thrawn
Right.
in Ahsoka, the TV show that's coming, obviously following Ahsoka Tano. That's a big deal. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Huge.
They did it with Bo-Katan and Katie Sackhoff, and that worked out very well for them. So yeah, I hope they pen this deal. I hope it works out.
They'd be
Everybody
dumb
wants
not
see
to.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a pretty prominent character in Geralt of Rivia,
Yeah.
The Witcher. All right, he's actually, his star power is kind of growing.
Yeah.
And like you said, yeah, he's a good actor, so he could pull that off easily.
Yeah. So also I believe the brother of Mads Mikkelsen,
Right.
who of course has also been in a lot of stuff. So
Yeah, they look very similar. So yes.
yes.
I would venture to say that's probably true.
Yeah, idea. And Mads, of course, was in Doctor Strange. But yeah,
And Rogue One.
That's right. That's right. So so moving so that's a big Star Wars story. The bigger Star Wars story, though, potentially, is a lot of video game news happened last week. A lot of video game news. The biggest one is that Ubisoft is making it, and well, we're gonna get to the.
I'm more excited about that one than this one, but I'll let you do it.
Well, because the transitions.
That's fine. I'll give it to you.
Ubisoft is making an open world Star Wars game, and this is big for a lot of reasons. Obviously, first off, it's a new developer. Obviously, it's a new Star Wars game is coming. Is it going to be like Assassin's Creed? Is it going to be like Far Cry? Is it going to take place on one planet, multiple planets? We don't know. Ubisoft has just begun working on it. The big deal about this, though, is that it means EA's exclusivity deal with Star Wars is done. Obviously, they're not done with Star Wars.
Thank the Force.
But, because they're working on Fallen Order 2. But this is a big deal. The exclusivity deal, Disney recognized the exclusivity deal was not working with EA. Even though it looks like they're ending this deal prematurely by 2 years. It was supposed to be for 10 years. It's only
good on EA for not making us think about it too.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there had to be probably a buyout clause of some kind, or there could be a loophole. It could be you can't release a game for 10 years. So Ubisoft can start developing a Star Wars game, but if the game comes out after that 10-year period, which it likely will because it's going to take a 2 to 3 year dev cycle, it could be something along those lines. So again, we don't know the full details of it, but it does look like that Disney is done with EA in terms of exclusivity, which honestly is smart. It needed to be done. The fact that there's a lot of other great developers out there who have, I'm sure, a lot of great ideas. Really curious to see what Ubisoft does with it. It's going to be done by the team that made The Crew and The Division. So you have a couple games as a service, and very open world games and very driving-driven game, obviously, in The Crew. So I imagine there's going to be some vehicles. But I'm curious to see what they do with it and where they go. And again, is it going to be one world, multiple worlds, what characters? We don't know. But we know Ubisoft's working on it, and that is a big, big deal. What is also Lee, thoughts on a new Star Wars game?
I'm excited about it. There's not much more to go into. There's not enough known about it.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's in capable hands, and hopefully they execute, and we don't have a cyberpunk situation.
Yeah, I doubt we will with Ubisoft. I'm sure there'll be some
Star
bugs,
Wars,
but I don't think it'll be that bad. The other big deal, of course, again, talking about lack of exclusivity, Lucasfilm Games, who is... again, now that big publishing kind of arm now, again, being recreated.
It's LucasArts. Why couldn't they just call it LucasArts? Damn.
Yeah, I know.
Lucasfilms Games. Lucasfilms Games. I'll get it done.
Lucasfilm Games.
Lucasfilm
yes.
Games.
Technically, that was the
LFG.
original. Technically, that was the original title of the studio many years ago.
Right.
They're working with Bethesda and Machine Games. Machine Games, the guys who basically revitalized Wolfenstein. The two Wolfenstein games both were fantastic.
They really were, and very narratively driven, which was awesome.
Yes. They are taking a crack at an Indiana Jones game. This was a huge deal. And this we do know a little bit about. We got a teaser trailer. People are already speculating. We saw plane tickets to Rome, dated 1937, so we're thinking that's one of the settings, and that's around the time period there for Indy, so that's
Well, yeah, they got to stay clear of World War II because of the last movie that came out.
I was gonna say, pre Last Crusade and Kingdom and Crystal Skull and all that. So probably somewhere around movie 1 or 2. But yeah, we're super excited to see what ends up happening with this. That's really all we know. It's really one of the few. We also saw a picture of the Sistine Chapel, again, kind of giving the idea that this is going to take at least partially place in Italy, in Rome, in the Vatican. But we'll see. We don't know much more about it. We don't know if it's going to... with machine games, like Lee said, I imagine it's going to be more narratively driven. But is it going to be a shooter? What are the whip mechanics going to be like? How is it going to work? Is it going to be very puzzle? I would imagine there's going to be a lot of puzzles. But again, we don't know much about it beyond probably the setting and the time period. And then, of course, a very experienced developer in machine games is handling it. But I'm super excited about this.
I am too. You know, what's funny is we haven't, like, when's the last Indiana Jones game that came out? I mean, I remember playing Temple of Doom in the early 90s. I don't remember the last great Indiana Jones game that came out. There was one.
There was an okay game called Staff of Kings, I want to say, for like the Wii. Right. I think it also was reported after, like, it was on PC like 15, 20 years ago.
There were some PC games. I do remember that.
Yeah, but it's been like 15 years at least.
Yeah, there hasn't been a modern Indiana Jones game in a long, long time, and several generations of gaming. And the thing is, when I think about this, narratively driven, but how much can they expand that universe? And look, it's exciting. Indiana Jones lends itself to gaming. Huge. Yeah. Humongous, as much as Star Wars in a lot of ways. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm interested to see who's going to voice Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. His father is still alive in that time period. Yep. You know, is there going to be a Sean Connery type character?
Impersonator, yeah.
You know, Henry Jones. You know, as long as they capture the essence of it, it could be a really fun game. Yeah. And I'm sure there'll be some classic moments in it as well. Like, that tutorial level is going to be something we've seen. Right. So I'm looking forward to it. It's great news. There's a great little teaser. It got people excited. I was talking with a friend of mine today. I'm realizing a lot of people today don't realize, if you can believe this, Ray, that Indiana Jones is a Lucas property. Spielberg directed them and helped with them, but this is a Star Wars property. It is a George Lucas property. So they're revitalizing it. I know they're building another movie. Yeah.
Starring Harrison Ford. Yep.
Right. So that's going to come back in a big way. They're looking to revitalize that world as well. And again, they're trying to make universes out of everything. Now, here's a funny one that will not come up in any game or movie, but the Star Wars and Indiana Jones world are the same universe. All right? They do exist in the same universe. We know this because C-3PO and R2-D2 are in the hieroglyphics on the wall in the first movie. We also know that...
Star Wars does take place in the galaxy a long time ago.
Yes, yes. And this has been known. They are the same universe. All right? They're just in a galaxy far away, long time ago. So, I don't think there'll be any crossover there, but it's important to remember that. They're made by the same people. Yeah. They follow the same laws. All right? So that could be really fun.
Yeah, no, that's true. You might get a Star Wars Easter egg here or there.
Yeah, remember the restaurant in the second movie is called Obi-Wan's. I mean, there's a lot of crossover there. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, fun little Easter eggs. So that should be interesting. Yeah, but it looks like, again, Disney is clicking on all cylinders and making all the right decisions. And that brings us to, of course, their polar opposite, DC and Warner Brothers.
Yay.
Yeah.
Let me try it again. I'm going to get really excited here. Here we go. Yay.
Yeah, that's kind of how we feel about what they're doing right now. It came out this week that Martian Manhunter is somehow going to be in the Snyder Cut.
What? Martian Manhunter? You mean the vision of the DC world that's really way more powerful than Superman in every possible way, but for some reason is an incredibly weak character? That guy?
Yeah, and so he's somehow going to make it in there. Is it going to be the one from television? Is it going to be somebody new? We don't know.
I don't know. For those of you who might not know, Martian Manhunter is an incredibly powerful superhero. He is more powerful and has more powers than Superman, but it's one of those characters that's so powerful they don't use him because he could easily figure out every situation.
Exactly. They made exactly. He's just too much, and so they don't use him as often or as well as they should. Although he does have some good stories out there, but
he does.
None recently.
Yeah, I'm not trying to knock him, but like his best appearances was in Justice League the cartoon.
Agreed.
Let's be honest.
For sure. Yeah, he was much better there. Also, it came out as Snyder basically announced on Vero that social service that only he uses. That basically he hasn't announced. He's hinted that this is not going to be a mini series anymore.
It's gonna
that
be a
basically the Snyder Cut is going to be a 4-hour long movie. It is going
But
to be a movie.
you can make it your own miniseries by pausing it after every hour and waiting a day to watch the next part. Because who would want to do something like that?
Yeah. I don't know. 4 hours seems like a lot to sit through, considering how the original movie turned out.
I'm just saying, people complaining. Now, if you're gonna bitch about this movie when the whole 4 hours is out, you can't complain about WandaVision. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting.
Better be good.
I was excited. I was very hesitant about Snyder Cut. Then I was excited. Now I'm hesitant again. The more I'm hearing about it, the more hesitant I'm becoming.
Yeah,
but we'll find out in about 6 to 8 weeks. So yeah, we'll find out about 6 to 8 weeks.
Probably going to be
March.
He's probably going to be a cameo and something at the end of like, oh, look who's here or something like that. So
yeah.
Look, again, the original movie was just over 2 hours. They guarantees you there's probably 2 hours of footage in this we haven't seen. So,
yeah, I mean,
where are you going, Zach? Where are you going?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. You know who's going though? Cyborg. Cyborg's been cut from the Flash.
Right.
This is a big deal. There's been a lot of controversy online. Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg, talked about how he was treated on set, and this has been again, especially given the social issues that have really been shown, been brought to the forefront over the past year. How he was treated on set, how he was treated, has been really. Warner Brothers has tried to deny, but there's a lot of proof, and obviously there's still a lot of court cases and things that this is a lot of legal stuff going on. But I'm guessing this is obviously in direct retaliation of it. Cyborg has been cut from the upcoming Flash movie, and that Ray Fisher is probably done with the character or the actor. He's done. I mean, obviously, this is what Hollywood does when you bash or come out against the way the Hollywood machine works, you get blacklisted. And it's really, really sad and unfortunate that Ray Fisher, it looks like Warner Brothers is doing this to him because obviously he shined a light on a situation that probably needed a light shined on it at that studio and how that production went down. And it's really, really sad what's going on. I mean, you hope it doesn't happen. I mean, there's been talks about the scene with John Boyega, with Star Wars and all this other stuff, and it's really sad that's the world we live in, that when you try to make things better by speaking up, you're punished by probably having your livelihood taken away. So
yeah, they always say that, when you run through the brick wall, you're going to get bloodied, but someone's got to run through it. Ray Fisher did. We'll see where this goes. Again, I'm not going to talk about what this does to the movie because it's actually not important. It's not more important than what we're talking about right now. Right. So I hope that this is able to be rectified. It's a lot of time before this movie comes out, and we'll see where it goes. Yeah,
but we'll see what happens, and I stand with Ray Fisher on this. So there we go. Speaking of other Warner Brother properties that are going to probably mess up, MortalKombat. We got the first screenshots of that new film that's going to be coming to HBO Max. It looks like Mortal Kombat. I mean, the thing is they did a pretty good job with it. Like in the
right.
90s, people forget that the first movie was actually pretty solid.
That was a really good movie. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
We saw Liu Kang holding a fireball. We saw Kung Lao with his hat. We saw Sub-Zero making a dagger out of ice.
Right.
Like, they're only screenshots. Like, we saw Jax. He's got metal arms. It's what we expected.
Right. It wasn't super exciting. Here's the deal. I'm waiting for a trailer. I do want to see a trailer before I judge it too much.
Yeah.
But I will say this, part of the fun of Mortal Kombat is playing the game, and when you see fatalities, it's in a game. It looks real, but it's not. And, we all know that, and it's just you can kind of cringe. I don't know if I want to see a live action, really gory fatality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if that's something I really want to see. So
yeah.
I'll wait for the trailer to come out and see where they're going with this. Obviously, if Kung Lao's there, it's not the first tournament.
Right.
Unless they're messing with the canon, which we know how that's going to turn out.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be curious because Kung Lao was around during the first tournament, but he wasn't the Kung Lao that we know, which is the seasoned fighter with the razor hat,
and that's what he had,
right? So that's why it's I'm worried.
We'll see. Nobody saw Raiden. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm worried. What else is new with Warner Brothers?
Well, that's what I want to say. I don't want to say, Ray. there is a mild concern. I'll say this. There's not enough out there to judge it. Those pictures didn't do whatever I think they were hoping it was going to do. I wasn't like, oh my God. Like I wasn't doing that.
I don't think anybody
You know what I
was. Everybody was like you.
Right.
It was like, where's the trailer?
Right.
Like, where's the
Thanks
trailer?
For the pictures of these characters we know already.
Yeah. Like, so I don't know. But that brings us now to our question of the week.
Yay! It's the question of the week. Ray stops me from trying to sing the question of the week. What will it be? We'll find out now because it's the question of the week.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we talked, of course, just briefly a little while ago about Lucasfilm Games bringing back a lot of properties, a lot of licensed properties, Star Wars, IndianaJones.
Star Wars.
Yes. So the question of the week is what licensed property would you want to see, and what dream studio would you want to see it from? So it's we've set some parameters. Lee can't do a Star Wars game. I can't do a Batman game.
Or Marvel or DC. It's too easy.
Right. Yeah. So. So I mean, for me, the obvious thing is Ghostbusters. I want to see another Ghostbusters game. I've spoken about this several times on the show before. For me, funny enough, I mean, just because they're I mean, obviously they're in the news, but also because I think they do a really good job with it, and they've done a really good job with shooters. Machine Games. I think, and Bethesda, and I think creating some crazy creatures, seeing what they did, obviously, if you saw what they did with the Wolfenstein games, so the creature design, the robot design there was really, really great. So I'd like to see what they could do with some ghosts. So somebody under the Bethesda umbrella, which is now also Microsoft. We didn't mention that, by the way. You might be curious if IndianaJones is an Xbox exclusive. Wink, wink.
They're taking it. The Xboxes are taking over.
Yeah. So
execute order.
That
kill PlayStation.
Yeah, that would be fascinating to see what they do. But yeah, I would see Ghostbusters either by Machine Games or even an Activision studio. Again, a shooter-based studio, because again, the aiming of the proton packs, that's gotta feel good. That's gotta be important.
It's gotta be right.
Yeah, but I think Bethesda I'll go with first because of their ability to design creatures and things like that. So.
Right. Now, Ray, for mine, do you want me to tell you the studio so you can guess the property, or the property so you can guess the studio?
Ooh.
One's harder than the other, I think. But I'll let you pick.
Give me the property.
Back to the Future.
Okay.
It's got to be Back to the Future for me.
Yeah. Back to the Future is a good... I mean, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
It does. Look, obviously, we've never had a great Back to the Future game.
Yeah, the Telltale one was subpar at best.
Actually, okay, I'll say this. The original NES game was... an NES game.
Right.
All right. And then the Telltale game, I didn't hate that as much as everybody else did, but it wasn't great. It was a Telltale game.
Yeah.
Right? So I would love a great Back to the Future game where you can do all three movies and maybe even a little bit beyond. But there's only one studio that I think can do it.
Ooh, one studio that could do it. This is
tough. I can give you hints. If you want.
Give me a hint.
All right. The DeLorean is a centerpiece of the game, and it has to be. And there's only one studio that could really take on humans and cars interacting through different places.
That I don't know, because I think of the racing game studios, and it's like,
well, think different. That's fair. And actually, to be fair, in your place in gaming, you would go there first. Think of another property that is heavily involved with cars, right? And
Rockstar.
Yes, thank you. I was gonna give you a hint of AC/DC is a group of I think Rockstar, and this is a kind of a curveball. I think Rockstar could actually kick butt. Because, again, it's not so much Marty and Doc. I think they're kind of easy to do.
Right.
All right. But the DeLorean is the centerpiece, right?
Yeah.
So you have to go to different time periods with that DeLorean, right?
Yeah.
And different trains and hoverboards. I think Rockstar's the only group that could really pull that off. Now, this would be a massive departure from kind of what GTA is.
Right.
Right? Because there's a little bit more. This would be way more narratively done.
Right.
Right? But... like, again, once you beat the game, could you go to other times? Could you do other things? I would love to see Rockstar make a Back to the Future game.
Well, I mean, because it also makes me think of the Grand Theft Auto heists, where you're doing all these bank robberies, and you have these elaborate missions within the world,
right?
And like, if you did those elaborate sort of missions throughout time, and we know obviously they've obviously with Red Dead they've done different time periods. You know, they've gone back 100 years, 120 years. And we also know with GTA 5, with the 3 lead dynamic, that you could easily bounce back and forth between Marty and Doc, depending on the story.
The other thing, too, is that, these stories always take place in Hell Valley. Right, so you're just talking about expanding
one
Hill
city,
Valley.
and it's just different time periods.
Right, and that's very GTA-ish, okay? And the other thing, too, is that, remember, some of the game would be in the DeLorean, but some of it would be on foot, some of it would be on skateboard. I mean, that's to me, that's what Rockstar does so well. I'm not saying other studios couldn't do it. Yeah. All right, I'm just saying that when I think about Back to the Future, the DeLorean is so important to that. You need a studio that's going to understand that and do it correctly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, the guys who make Forza, I mean, they can make a great car. I'm not saying that, it's not like there's a narrative.
Right, and that's where my head went. It was like the Forza guys, playground games.
I should have been more clear. Yeah. I should have been more clear. But to be fair, GTA has always done automobiles right.
Yeah.
And we see that all the time.
Yeah, and to talk about, there's so many games out there where they don't do cars, right? I mean, if you played Watch Dogs Legion, that was a great game, but Ubisoft really messed up the car mechanics to the point where I almost never drove in that game.
I think that when you're making a game like this, you don't have to lean, you have to get the characters right, but you're not leaning on that too much. Like Marsden in Red Dead Redemption was an original character, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what they did so well. They built this character that you really care about. Well, I already care about Doc and Marty. You just have to get them right.
Give me the adventure.
You know what I mean? Right. It's the going through Hill Valley. It's the adventure. It's following it. It's Biff being around. I just think that Rockstar could do that, right? And I wanted to throw a little curveball in it. That's something they've never done, right? I think they could pull it off. I really do. And not to mention the other cars in those eras. It would be fun to drive in a 55 Chevy. I'm just or the 4x4 from 1985.
That's very fair.
Right?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see what they do. I like that one. So there we go. So that's what we think, but we want to know what you think.
You think?
Yes. So a little bit of an echo there. Let us know what you guys think. What property? And you guys don't have to be limited to like we limited it ourselves. Obviously, if you want to do a Batman game, for sure, or a Star Wars game, you can
make a good argument.
Yes,
make a good argument.
Exactly.
We want to discuss it. We love this. Please distract us. Please.
Yes. So that's so there you go. But we gave ourselves a little. So not surprisingly, me, Ghostbusters, Lee, Back to the Future. Let's see what happens, and that'd be fun. So let us know what you guys think below. Give us your answers. But that will do it for episode 92 of Geeks Who Like Sports.
It was a good one. Share it with your friends.
It was a very good one. We did it. It was pretty fair, even balanced. We did a lot of football, but other than that, everything was pretty.
Hey, football it demanded it this week that we talk about football, and it will demand it next week, and then we'll have a week without it, and then it'll demand it for one more week.
Yes. So and then football season will be done, and then
Then we'll talk about hockey and basketball.
Yes, and there you go, exactly. And then baseball season will start as football ends. Baseball will begin, and stuff to look forward to. Of course, lots of WandaVision, and then right after that is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We got a lot of stuff with that, I'm sure, and of course, SnyderCut at some point is going to drop in the next 2 months. So we got a lot of great stuff coming down the pipe here for Geeks Who Like Sports. But until then. Until episode 93, which will be next week, this has been episode 92 of Geeks Who Like Sports. For Lee, I am Ray. Thank you all for watching or listening. Until next time, we will see you later. Don't forget, geekswholikesport.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. See you later, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching or listening.